The first patient I ever saw with trigeminal neuralgia was when I was still living in the UK. It was during my first year of practice, just after I'd finished university. For anyone that doesn't know, trigeminal neuralgia is extreme facial pain. Sometimes it can feel like burning, it can feel like stabbing. It comes in episodes, and it's literally nicknamed the suicide disease. It is very extreme, and for patients who are suffering from it, it can have a real detrimental effect on their life. And for this patient I had, so what happened for her is she had come in because her son was already a patient, and he asked, my mum is experiencing these problems, do you mind having a look? And we said, yeah, of course. And the practice we were in, we're more focused on things like low back pain, a lot of sports injuries, knee problems. We weren't really seeing more of these neurological problems, which would be things like trigeminal neuralgia, maybe dizziness, migraines. It was more those kind of common things that a lot of chiropractors were seeing. And I'm in my first year as a graduate, and it seemed for me that a lot of these different cases, whether it's interesting conditions or people who had fairly serious traumas or injuries, I was getting these cases, even to the extent that one of my colleagues at the time asked me if maybe I thought I was unlucky, or maybe it was just weird I was getting all of them. Personally, the way I saw it is, it's good that you should see a range of people, and realistically, if you're going to see these people, it's probably good to at least start seeing them when you still work with other people, when you have mentors, so that you can talk to them about it, and it is not just, if you're in your own practice, you're thrown straight in, and then, maybe you're not going to be as prepared as you would be otherwise. But yeah, for her particular case, this is something where, her son was already coming in, he brings her in, and it turns out that she's had this problem for the past few years, to the extent that she hasn't really been sleeping in her bed for months at a time, especially when the episodes were worse, because she couldn't lie on the bed. Anything lightly touching her face would have a real detrimental effect. Washing her face in the morning, having a shower, all of these things were extremely sensitive for her. So the idea for her of lying down on the bed and her face being against the pillow would cause extreme pain. So she would sit kind of like I'm sitting now. She would sit in a chair and she would sleep sat up in a chair. And she was doing this for a long time, and of course, the quality is not going to be as good. She would get a few hours of sleep, and then maybe she'd wake up, she'd fall back to sleep. And during the day, she was honestly one of the most lovely, nicest, kindest people I've ever met. But during the day, she's then doing things with the family, she's helping out with the grandkids. For all of this is exhausting, especially someone who's in their 60s or 70s. And then afterwards, of course, it's not just that she's having this tired feeling, and then it's also starting to affect, the actual pain itself, but then it starts to really affect her mood. Because it's not just then something where some people, it may make them angry or anything else, but it can really start to affect you more personally, even if you don't show it as much to the rest of the world. So for her case, as I said, I was a newer graduate at the time, and to some extent, when you're a newer graduate, you're still figuring things out. There's still some level of practice or experimentation going on. And it was actually one of these cases, her case, was one of the ones that inspired me to get more into upper cervical, like we do here at Vitality. Because on the things I was doing with her, some things were maybe helping a little bit, but not so much. Some things weren't making much of a change. And the big thing that made a difference for her was really focusing more on that top part of the neck, that upper cervical area, either through adjustments or using what's called a drop piece, which is when, say, she was laying flat and then a very light push on that area using part of the mechanics of the bench. And that was really what helped her. And for her, that's when she started to see these big improvements in quality of life. That's where she could sleep in a bed. That's where she could brush her teeth more easily. There was days where she could not brush her teeth because it would cause too much pain. And this allowed her then, of course, to have a better mood and to spend more time with her family and do the things that she wanted to, the things that she loved. And again, it's her and a pocket full of people that really inspired me, personally at least, to get into this type of work. One thing I would say is, if you do know anyone who is suffering with trigeminal neuralgia, whether it's coming to see us or we're happy to refer them to another practice as well, somewhere that would be the best fit for them, make sure that you talk to them, because it is something that's truly horrible to try and live with and to deal with on a daily basis.